Welcome to the Upside Down People podcast. Today's guest is an ultra marathon runner, and he is the Associate Academic Dean for the Australian College of Ministries. He's also known for his recent book, There Is No Finish, The Ultra Backyard Story. I'm grateful to spend time and have this conversation with Stephen Parker. Well, welcome to the Upside Down People podcast, Stephen Parker. So glad to be having a conversation with you here today. How are you going?
Yeah, thanks very much. Really glad to be here. Having a blast.
Yeah. I know we are on opposite sides of the state. I'm in WA. Whereabouts are you?
So I'm just south of Brisbane, actually. So
Okay.
Living at Rochedale South.
Cool. Awesome. And I know before that we're getting started in this conversation, you mentioned you had 4 daughters. How's that like? I've got 1 daughter and one on the way. Actually, by the time this podcast probably comes out, I'm going to have 2 in the flesh.
Oh, congratulations. That's very cool.
Thank you. But yeah, how's that been like for yourself?
Oh, seriously, fantastic. We thought we got the recipe right with the first daughter. She was just magnificent, blessing, easy kid. So we went, let's keep doing that. And so in the end, we ended up with 4 daughters, which was a surprise. I was assumed as a boy I'd have boys myself.
Right.
But it's magnificent blessing. By the time we had 3 girls, we were praying that the 4th one would be a girl as well.
Awesome.
We thought, oh look, we're doing this okay. Let's just stay on a good thing, and it's just magnificent blessing.
That's great. Well, I heard I don't know how scientifically true it is, but I have heard that people who have girls are like their genes are prone to being fitter or more persevering or enduring. And I know you're a seasoned ultra runner.
Well, I hope that's true. And to be honest, the only person I've heard that theory from as well is from a friend in Perth as well. So
really? Oh, maybe it's a Perth thing.
That's right. But I'm more than happy for that to be right. So
awesome. Yeah. Well, it makes sense. So you are an ultra runner, and you've just published a book, I believe. There Is No Finish, the Backyard Ultra Story.
Yep.
What? Well, I'm keen to dive into like the psyche of what got you into ultra running, because I think that's a fascinating, just hobby sport event to pick. And then particularly with the Backyard Ultra, what's the story behind there?
Yeah, fair enough. So I've been running all my life since I was in primary school, but then probably relatively serious since I was about 14. And I'm 51 now, so I've been running for a fair while. And I've done at least a half marathon every year since 1987.
Wow.
And for the last 15 years or so, I've been getting into ultra marathons and Rogaines and adventure races, and a bunch of like really longer things. And basically it was as simple as I enjoy running. It became one of the healthier parts of my life. It made me feel healthy overall. It was great for my stress.
Yeah.
It was a really good praying time. It was a good community building thing. And so, well, if it's good, then why not do more of it for longer? But then I slowly started playing with the longer stuff.
Right.
And doing some ultra runs. And there, it was just a fascinating psychological journey in that it's a rare opportunity to actually push yourself and see what you can actually do. Because like most things you do, you think, this is fairly easy to do, or I can or I can't do it. But committing yourself to run for 15, 20 hours or so, you're not sure if you're actually going to be able to do it or not. And there's something fascinating about going through huge amounts of suffering and getting through the other side.
Yes.
So,
yeah. I agree. It's interesting though that someone would willingly put themselves through suffering to get to the other side. What's in it for you? Like, what's the feeling that you get, or that experience? Can you describe that?
Yeah, look, it's just the best feelings of accomplishment when you actually do get through it, and then you can look back on that for years later, and that can be one of the things that your brain goes through in other hard times.
Yeah, very good.
So let me throw an example actually. The first ultra marathon I did was called the Blackall 100. It's on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. A friend and I decided to do a 100-kilometre race, and we'd never actually done anything more than a standard marathon, which is 42K, which is probably a bit silly going straight from 42 to 100. And it was really hilly as well, a lot hillier than where I trained.
Yeah,
and there was about
right.
a 4-kilometre section around 50 Ks that was just downhill constantly, which you'd think is really quite easy. But at the end of that 4K, which is about 52K in,
Your body
my
would be
legs were
killing.
just shattered, all the muscles, my quads were destroyed, and I could hardly run after that. And so I told my friend just to keep running ahead of me and leave me there. In tears, just, yep, I can't do this. But the next checkpoint was 60 kilometres. I'll just get to there and stop.
Yeah.
And so I walked for ages, and then I spent probably half an hour reciting every Bible verse I could think of, praying, begging for mercy, and then slowly started running little bits and pieces here and there. And then I'd overtake people, and they'd say, "Oh, how are you going?" And I'd say, "I'm in unspeakable pain. I'm in so much agony." And then I'd have that same conversation over and over with people. Then after a while, it suddenly clicked. Hang on, I've told about a dozen people as I've passed them that I'm in lots of pain, but I'm passing them. Hang on. And then by the time I got to the 60K checkpoint, I thought, actually, why would I stop? I am running.
Right.
And so then I just kept going, got to the 80K checkpoint, and by then I actually couldn't run downhill. My legs had stopped working, and I said, look, I have to pull out now. And then a guy basically said, look, sit down for 20 minutes. I'll massage your legs, bring food to you, looked after, blah, blah, blah. Was so close to pulling out,
Yeah.
but got me going, pushed me on. And so that day, and then eventually I got to the end. So that day I regard as being probably one of the lowest moments of my life.
Wow.
And one of the highest as well. But when I was at my worst, one of the things that kept coming to mind was, what I'm doing here is I'm developing perseverance, not specifically just for running, but I'm going to apply this in all parts of my life. And yep, I'm going to feel terrible at some points in my marriage or in my work life or in my church life. And I'm not quitting this race. I'm not quitting any of those things. And that was a sort of self-talk I was giving myself, that, hey, I am developing this iron strong perseverance and endurance that is going to help all my family and all the other various circles of my life. And so all of that's going through my head as a motivation. That, yeah, I'm doing this for others,
Right.
and sort of try to stop it seeing it as a selfish thing and as a, hey, here is a positive outcome.
Yeah.
That's my theory, anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously worked. It got you through. So, have you been able to, like you're saying, apply that perseverance in other areas of your life? Like, now that you've gone through it and you've been doing it for 15 plus years, have you had times when marriage is obviously super difficult for everyone who enters into it, because you go through highs and lows together, and then the whole idea is that perseverance, and you choosing it's similar to like that ultra running, is like every moment is in those difficult times is a choice to continue on. It's a choice to uphold your vows or whatever you may be motivated to do. Have you found doing the ultra training and the ultra events help in those areas of your life?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, I married really well. I've got an awesome wife. But having said that, marriage is still hard. Like, we go through hard times, and I'm annoying, and it's a really hard thing. And sometimes I think, I wonder how anyone manages to stay together.
Yeah.
But I often do think, oh yeah, no, I got through that race. I can get through this this moment as well. And yes, and we've been married for almost 25 years now.
Awesome. Yeah.
And yeah, we still have highs and lows, but we've both got that rock solid commitment saying, hey, we actually took those vows seriously. We mean it. We want to create a healthy marriage here. And so we'll work really hard on that.
That's brilliant.
And so that probably that commitment to perseverance that I think I've developed in the running has been really quite helpful there.
Yeah. And so what does the wife think of, because all the training that goes into it, you have 4 kids as well. Where do you find the time? And I'm assuming you're working while you're doing all of this. Where do you find the time to fit in the amount of training that's required to do these ultra events?
Yeah, so the main trick is I just wake up early, and on Saturday and
You
Sunday,
say that so
go for a
easily.
longer run. Yeah, but like not super early, like probably 5 o'clock. Probably 4 days a week, and all my girls like to sleep in, so often I'll go out for a 30K run and come back, and the house is just stirring. And people are still getting up there and go, beauty, fantastic. I don't lose any dad or husband brownie points if you're still asleep. But and also I will admit I actually train less than a lot of other ultra runners. I'm not trying to be the best. I never will be. My body will break. I get injured too often.
Right.
And I think that's actually a blessing for me, because there is a sense of it's easy to probably cross over into idolatry with your sporting pursuits and go, hey, this is the number one focus of my life. I want everything to do there. And what I'm trying to do is get the settings of my life in such a way that the running I do will help my spiritual life, my relational life, and my family life. And I will come back from them as a better person, better able to be a father and husband and worker and friend because of the running. But it'd be really easy to do too much and and it become too selfish and too time consuming at the expense of everything else.
Right. Yeah, I get that. I've done a few endurance events. I wouldn't ever consider myself an endurance athlete, but I have done like extreme events. Usually my motivation is to raise money for charity or something like that. But I've done just enough to be dangerous in the understanding of it takes a lot of time, and the amount of like mental fortitude that you need to get through these events is super key, because often you reach a point where your body does feel like it can't go on and it feels like it's reached its limits. But then it's amazing how powerful the mind is to continue pushing on, and how much further like you actually are able to get if you can just get over that mental block or that thought that's just saying, you know what, let's just like kick it in now and we can enjoy sitting down or lying down for however long, or just we can try this another day. But it's like the mental fortitude to keep going, and then realizing like, wow, I'm actually capable of so much more than I thought I was. That's what I found fascinating about like doing the few sort of things that I've done. Have you found something similar?
Oh, very much so. Actually, if you don't mind, I might tell you a story about that from last year.
Yeah, please do.
So I probably need to back up a little bit though. So just very briefly, a backyard ultra, which is what the book I'd written was about. Backyard ultra is an unlimited ultra marathon where everyone starts at the start line, normally something like 9 a.m. in the morning, and you do one 6.7 kilometre lap or 4.1 mile lap. That's pretty easy to do. The average runner can do that in 40 or 50 minutes. People would normally walk a little bit in the middle of it as well. Then you come back, you set up a little gazebo, you sit back, have some food, have some drink, and then some whistles blow. 3 minutes to go, 2 minutes to go, 1 minute to go, 10 seconds to go. And then when the whistle blows, everybody lines up again and then has to start at that moment. If you're not there, ready to go, you're out.
Right.
You do another 6.7 kilometre lap, and then another one, and then another one. And for the first one, easy as. Second one, oh, my legs are a bit sore. The third one, oh, I've done 20K now. Okay, that's starting to hurt. After at 5 or 6K, some of the people will start dropping out. And then from then on, every lap, someone will start dropping out. And there actually is, the book's called There Is No Finish, because there is no finish line. You just keep on going. And some people will go for days.
It's till the last man standing, essentially, right?
Yep, exactly. Yep, until there's only one person left who does one lap by themselves.
Wow.
So I was doing one of these races last year. I had a bunch of friends that we were doing it with. We had a big tent set up. There were probably 7 or 8 of us, and they're all steadily dropping out. I was aiming, at the time, my best was 21 hours, but 8 hours in, my legs were just killing me. And I was just whinging to all my friends going, oh, this hurts so much. And to which they kept on saying, you've run about 50K already, so you're supposed to be hurting.
Right.
Yeah, but I think I'm hurting more than I should. And so at 10 hours, I went, there's no way I'm going to get to what I've done before. I'm just going to get to 16 hours, which was still 6 hours away. Felt almost impossible to get to, but that would be 15 hours is 100 kilometres. Wow. And lots of people will drop out at the 100-kilometre mark because they go, cool, magnificent accomplishment.
Yeah.
So I thought if I just do one more than that, then that I can live with that. And then almost all my friends dropped out between 10 and 16, and there was only one left running at 16. And he said, look, I'm going to stop at the end of the next lap. I thought, well, I might as well at least beat him, because by then I was actually feeling a bit better.
Right.
So he did that lap, and then he did another one, and then another one.
He is playing mental games with you.
Oh, it was so annoying. I just want to say, look, how about we both stop now? But I just want to beat him. So
yeah.
He does 19, and by then I was cactus. I was ready to finish. I went out on lap 20 at the halfway point.
Wow.
I got there at 31 minutes and 30 seconds. And because it's the halfway, that means if I keep the same pace up, I'll get back in 63 minutes or 3 minutes too late. Because if you get back even a second too late, you can't start the next lap. And so I ran as fast as I could to finish that lap, finished a couple of minutes early, told all my friends and support crew, I am destroyed now. I've run a lot more than I intended to do. I've got nothing left. I have to keep going. By then, though, it was 4 a.m. Two of my daughters had come back, had finished, had gone to church youth group, and they'd come to me at about 11 o'clock at night and said, Dad, we're here until the end for you to support you.
Wow.
And at the time, I thought, I'm actually not going to get much further, because I was about ready to stop. I didn't want to tell them that. They then told me afterwards, they knew that. They looked at me and thought, Dad's only got about one lap left anyhow. But I kept going. About to finish 4 a.m. My eldest daughter, Elizabeth, says, well done, Dad. You've done really well, but I've got bad news for you. I've just been on the phone to Mum, and her and our youngest daughter, Jessie, they're awake, and they're going to drive out so they can see you finish your next lap.
Oh, the motivation.
Oh, and I just burst into tears because I was destroyed. I had no energy left. I'd run really hard to finish my 20th hour of running. I had nothing left, physically gone, mentally gone. But my wife is not a morning person. She doesn't like running. For her to be awake that early and to come out was just such a magnificent gesture, something I would enjoy and cherish so much.
Wow.
I couldn't waste that. But I had nothing. So I don't do energy drinks, but I've been given a free one at some point earlier. I was just sitting there. So I went to the starting corral and just sculled this big, massive monster energy drink, and suddenly just felt all this, whee! And it was just, I could feel these weird chemicals going through me. And I said to one of my friends, okay, my only chance is if I just sprint this entire lap, and then hopefully that'll get me through. So the whistle blew. And then I literally just sprinted to the start of the pack, got in front of everyone else, and looked around and went, I'm actually winning this lap. This is weird as. And so I just sprinted as fast as I possibly could, which was really probably still quite a slow pace compared to what most people could do when you haven't run 20 hours before.
Right.
But I ended up getting quite a big lead. And then I saw I was coming in, and I was so pleased. Just the desire to have my wife and daughter be there at the end, and to see me run in was so motivating.
Yeah.
Until, as I get to the final straight coming in, it suddenly occurred to me that with them driving there and me having finished most lap about a minute before the hour, I was coming in at the 39-minute mark. I thought, nobody's going to be there to see me. My wife's still going to be in the car driving. I thought, oh, you're joking. So as I run down the final straight, I start calling out, Parker girls, just get out of the tent, because you couldn't see the finishing shoot from the tent. So going, get out here. What I didn't know was that they were having a nap in my car, and they knew that I wouldn't come in until just before the hour, if I came in at all. Came in the finish line. There's not a single person out anywhere, because no one was expecting anyone to finish that early. Because somehow I just run at what at that stage felt like superhuman speed.
Right.
Again, by my standards. No, second place was miles back. Come in about 39 minutes, and nobody was there. Then just after I crossed the line, my best friend just turned around the corner, and he said, "Oh, you finished?" And I said, yeah. And I'm feeling quite proud of myself, waiting for the praise to come from him. And he said, "It's okay. You did well. Doing 20 was great." And I said, no. Because he assumed that I'd given up and just walked back in because I couldn't have finished so early. And I said, no, I finished. And he said, "Oh, the girls are in the car." So I texted them and said, "I'm back now." The girls came out and again put their arms around me. "It's okay, Dad. You did well." No, I don't want consolation. I want, "That was awesome, Dad." We all assumed you dropped out. And then 10 minutes later, Mum turns up and, "Oh, you finished now?" And I went, "Well, no, if I could finish a lap that easily, then of course I'll keep going." And it just really struck me, as you said before, that although I thought I was destroyed, I had nothing left. When suddenly I had this motivation to do it, the energy drink helped a bit, who knows how much.
Yeah.
But I think mostly was, hey, I want to see my girls.
Yeah.
And I want to do that.
I want to finish strong in front of them.
Yeah. I really think so much of running another sport is in your head.
Right.
I've run the Gold Coast Half Marathon 36 times. And I just sign up automatically. A couple of years, I forgot about it. And I was in a bit of a slack period. I actually wasn't training. And I got to a week out and went, "Oh, no, I seriously forgot to train." And this was before I was doing the ultra runs.
Yeah.
And so I went, "Oh, whatever," and still just ran it without having trained for 3 months beforehand, because I know that so much of it is just in your head. And so the only question is, how much will it hurt your body?
Yeah.
Good runners hate it when I tell that story as well. Because they say, you should never tell people that they can run without training.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, it is true. You can. That's what I encourage friends with as well. That it's more just like speaking into, you're far more capable than you believe you are. So you're able to, if a half marathon is your goal, you're more than able to do that. If you can just get over this block. And sometimes that might mean recalibrating where your expectations are. So instead of going for an hour 30, it's you can do it in 2.5 hours. If that was the thing to get you to finish, it's you just reset your expectations, and it's I actually can do more than I thought I could do. But in terms of when you're saying you signed up, you're a bit lazy one year and hardly had any training, that reminds me, my in-laws are very athletic, and they all runners. And
cool.
my brother-in-law, I remember I ran my first half marathon with him. My wife was a runner, and I ran it with both of them. But I remember he had hardly done any training that year. And I was asking him what training he had done. He's like, "Oh, I play basketball, so just some up and down the court thing." And it was it wasn't competitive basketball either. It was just social.
Yeah.
And he goes out there and gets, I think it was like an hour 28 without any training. And I was just like, that is just unbelievable. Like someone who hasn't put in any effort goes and does it. Obviously, he's got years behind him.
Yep.
But I was just so impressed with it. I wasn't like annoyed or anything like that. I was just like, man, the mental fortitude to be able to do that, because that's what it comes down to as well. It's just like knowing, okay, I'm only in this much suffering for this much time, so I can keep pushing. I've been trying to build that over the years, but it is a difficult like discipline to build into your life to sit in a place of suffering. I think it's very hard, and without getting too philosophical, I think it speaks something into our culture as well, how we don't like pain and we don't like suffering. And we almost want a magic pill to like remove all the suffering and remove all the pain, but perseverance and characters built from actually sitting in that place and walking through it rather than trying to escape it. And I think that's something that I'm hearing as you've talked about doing this backyard ultra last year.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, you would never be able to reach the place you did if you didn't like just put your head down and push through it, which is that's super cool. A question that I do have for you is like, I want to get into like how there's you touched on it a bit. There's this connection between running and your faith and life. I want to get into that, but before we do, give us some like highlights of your ultra running career. What's some of the furthest distances you've gone? What's some of the biggest achievements you've done? Yeah.
So it's fairly limited. Like I'm not a superstar. A friend and I have won probably half a dozen adventure races. So like 6 or 8 hour races where you're kayaking, mountain biking, and running, trying to find as many checkpoints in off-road situations. So that's probably the best we've done.
Yeah,
they're so much fun.
Are those like? I was just going to ask with those. I've never really heard of adventure races, so I don't really know what entails. Do you go? You mentioned kayaking. Is that like in the sea or down rivers, or what does that look like?
They can be on the ocean, but more often they're in lakes or creeks.
Yeah.
So
okay.
basically, you start at a certain point, and you're given a big map, and you're given an hour or two to prepare what you're going to do. And so you're plotting your route. You're given a map. You're trying to work out where you're going to go, and then in some of them it's point to point, but more often you have to choose which checkpoints you want to try and find.
Right.
And so there's a lot of strategy in there of thinking, okay, hey, I'm really slow. I'm just going to do this. So I've done them with my daughter,
Yeah.
one of my daughters. And so we picked a fairly isolated route and tried just to get a few of the run legs, a few of the mountain bikes, a few of the kayaks. Unfortunately, the time I did do it with my daughter, she broke her arm going down a hill. But we didn't know it was broken. And so then she did the bike leg. And then she runs 8K running as well, all with her arm going, oh, my arm hurts. But I didn't make her do the kayak, so that was good. I got good dad points for that.
Wow, that's a different level. Obviously, you can see it's that runs in the family, the mental strength.
Yeah. No, she's awesome. Yes, adventure racing's great, and yeah, lots and lots of fun.
Awesome.
And in ultra marathons, probably some of the more fun things. The first one was just absolute great experience. I also did one called the Scenic Rim Ultra, which was mostly memorable because we got to about the 53K mark or so, and all of a sudden someone says, "Sorry, you've got to stop here. There's a fire up ahead." I thought, oh, I don't know. So we ran up ahead just to see, and yes, there was literally a fire going across the track. Which we could have got past, but there was smoke everywhere. And we knew, if you can't see where you're going to run, that just says accident waiting to happen.
So was it
then
just
we
a
turned around.
cancelled race, or what
Yeah.
happened? Ah, wow.
Yep. So literally, the person, people in front of me managed to run through before the fires came over. So they all managed to finish, but from where we were and back, all had to just stop.
Oh man.
But we were 8 kilometres past the previous checkpoint, and so we had to then stop and tell everyone else to stop, and then herd everyone back to the checkpoint to keep them out of the fire. But everyone, like us, had used all that you carry a backpack filled with water in there. But because we knew we were only a kilometre from the next checkpoint, we'd all pretty much used up all of our water. So after waiting half an hour, deciding what to do, and then starting to head back, everyone was massively dehydrated by the time they got back, because we'd all run out of water. And it was a bit disappointing, but I still managed to run 61k out of a 65k race.
Oh wow. That would be
backtracking.
Yeah, that's so close to the finish as well.
Oh yeah, it was so frustrating. But it again became one of those epic experiences. And in fact, in most of these races, we'd almost be disappointed if it was just I turned up, I ran it, there were no big problems,
Right.
no cool stories to tell afterwards. It's always more fun when there's a bit of adventure that happens.
Yeah.
And in the backyard side, the first one I did, I actually managed to get second place, which was really exciting. It was one of the smaller races, though.
Yeah.
So it was easier to come second in that than in some others. And it was the first race in Australian history where a female managed to finish first.
Awesome.
And so with 4 daughters as well, I was pretty keen by that. And I knew who she was, and
Yeah.
I knew she could beat me from the start. So
Yeah.
once there were 4 hours at the end where it was only us 2 left.
Wow.
And we were both hoping that the person would finish, but I knew she'd, and so it was 21 hours I got to. I knew she'd
Wow.
done 30, and so I thought, yeah, I don't have another 10 hours in me
Yeah.
to beat that.
So that was your first one that you did, and you did 21 hours.
yeah.
How
yeah.
many kilometers is that?
So that was 141 kilometers. That was.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'd never done more than 100 kilometers before, so I was really, really happy with that.
Yeah. That's
And
incredible.
then last year in that one where I was nearly going to stop, I managed to get to 24 hours on that,
Wow.
which is 100 miles.
Yeah.
So about 161 kilometers. And to be honest, I'm sure I could have kept going at that point, but because I'd been flagging for so long that I was about to stop, I actually sort of felt a bit guilty, and by then my family had been watching for hours and hours and hours, going, "Come on, you're going to finish soon." I thought, "Yep, 24 hours. I'm so proud of that. I can stop there." And it was hurting heaps as well. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the furthest I've done, 100 miles.
My goodness, that's impressive. That is crazy. I mean,
Yeah. Thanks.
the idea of a ultra backyard, or the concept of it, because that's grown quite significantly in like popularity amongst. I feel like they become quite it's accessible because you don't have to be an elite runner to enter into it, but then it's also accessible if you wanted to see how far you can push yourself. So I think like it sort of reaches anyone in society who's just interested in like seeing how far they can push themselves. Why do you think it's grown in popularity? Because you're just running essentially in a circle for as long as you can. What
and so I used to
brings
think-
people into that?
Yeah, so I used to think it would be the most boring thing in the world, because normally for an ultra, you want to see some beautiful scenery, you want to go from A to B, you want to explore all these great mountains.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's lots of factors. Partly it's much more social than the average race.
Okay.
So you do whatever pace you want to do for 6.7 kilometers, and then no matter whether you've done it in 30 minutes or 59 minutes, every one of you lines up at the start of the next lap. And so maybe you do run one lap really fast with your fast friends, or I'm going to do a race next year where there's going to be about a dozen of the top runners in the world there. So for a couple of laps, I am going to push myself and run a bit faster to run along with them and sort of do a bit of fanboying, going, "Hi, how you doing? I wrote about you in the book. Wow, this is really exciting for me." And then I'll do some laps where I'll go really slow at the back of the pace as well,
Yeah.
at the back of the pack. So it's much more sociable because normally in an ultra, the pack spreads out so much. You could have a kilometre between you and the closest person,
Right.
or 50 meters, but that's still just as far away. You're still not talking to them. They're still not encouraging you. It can be quite isolating.
Yeah.
In this, you can have someone with you as long as you want. So I talk constantly. I'm just chatting all through it all. The first time a friend and I, until he dropped out at 17 hours, we ran every lap together, talking almost constantly that time.
Man.
Plus the drive there and the drive back as well. So,
Yeah. So
it's
it really connects people then.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And it's much better for friends and family. So on that first day, we would have had probably 30 people we knew come along and cheer us at different points or provide support for us along the way, because it was half an hour from home, easy to come in, and then they can see us for 10 or 15 minutes every hour.
Right.
Because you're only running, say, for 45 or 50 minutes, resting for the rest of the time. You can have a bit of a chat to them. "Oh, yeah, doing well. Yep, it's all going fine. Oh, hey, thanks so much for coming out." And then as you come in, they're there cheering you along
Yeah.
again. And so it's great for your friends and family, rather than your standard ultra marathon where if someone wants to come as a support crew, they have to spend the entire day driving from one checkpoint to another and then seeing you for 2 minutes while you're quickly grabbing some more food and keeping on going. And it's not that exciting for them.
Yeah. A lot more isolating for everyone involved in that experience. Yeah.
Yep. They're also cheaper. They're easier to run because you need a smaller parcel of land.
Right.
You don't need much equipment. Approvals are easier to do. And the open-ended nature of the event also is really quite attractive because there aren't many things in life where you don't know what's going to happen. So say it's a 100-kilometre run. Can I do that or not?
Yeah.
It's a binary thing, yes or no. But in this, there is no finish. You just keep on going and you push yourself until either physically you drop or mentally you drop, or you just have to go to work because your next shift is starting. All people stop for all sorts of different reasons.
Yeah.
But it means that every time you stop, there's some story there. There's some really amazing reason.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can imagine it's a pretty unique event where, like you're saying, people like friends and family can come and get involved and support, and you're also running in close proximity to others, so it's this beautiful experience of camaraderie as well, where you shoulder to shoulder, you can talk if you want to, you can listen if you want to, and that almost takes your mind off of the pain that you might feel. It might bring motivation as well, I could imagine.
Now, you're in Perth, aren't you, Caleb?
I'm in Perth, yeah.
Yeah. So there's actually lots of amazing backyard events in Perth. Last year, there was a crazy race. It was the World Satellite Championships. So I think it was 63 countries around the world, they had simultaneous national championships happening. So at, I think it was 9 p.m. it started in Perth, and like 1 a.m. in New Zealand, 7 a.m. in Nashville, and in all these other countries all around the world, and all connected by like a shared, I think it was a YouTube channel. And so in Nashville, the founder, Lazarus Lake, would blow his whistle, and all 63 countries would start at the same time. And so they were all separate races.
Right.
There was the best 15 Australians, the best 15 Kiwis, etc. And so when the Australian race is over, then the other races can keep going, or we can keep going once they've all stopped. But they also add up the completed laps of every person. So let's say every Aussie did 10 laps.
Yeah, very cool.
10 15s, our score would be 150 laps. And then maybe another country does 160. But, oh, well, we'll try and beat them next time. So it's this awesome competition to see who's the best Aussie and every other country, and which country will win overall, and which country will have their top runner go the furthest. So you might have the first 13 finish after 2 laps, but then the next 2 might do 100 laps.
Yeah.
And just keep running and go further than anyone else. And so this was happening in Perth at Herdsman Lake.
Herdsman Lake. Okay. Yeah. I know they do have a backyard ultra over there at
Yeah.
Herdsman. So the satellite event was happening there. Awesome.
Yeah, and so this was making the news over there. And then what would happen was the Aussies did brilliantly. And so then once they started going well on the breaks at the turn of the hour, people would start flooding in to start supporting them, come in for a couple of hours, support them, then go home, come back the next day, and they're still running. And
Wow.
they did it for about 4 days, I think they went for.
That's crazy. And what
yeah.
were the results in the end? Which country came out on top?
Oh, it was so exciting. We came third last time, and this time we just managed to beat America into second place.
Awesome.
They were ahead of us, but then they finished at about about 90 hours or so, something like that.
That is insane.
And we had 2 guys left who just had to keep on running until they got to 96 hours. And so one of them, his previous best was about 76 hours.
Wow.
But he went, if I get to 96, Australia gets second place. So he just pushed himself until he got to 96, got exactly what he needed to do for us to win, and then stopped. Or maybe it was 95, and then the winner, Phil Gore from Perth, did one more lap, who used to be the world record holder, and probably will be again too.
Yeah, that is insane. That is it's a cool idea as well. And
it's so much fun. And so lots of people are following it online as well, and so you can see what's happening all around the country. There's spreadsheets showing how many people's left, and so 1,000 people follow that.
That is so good. And am I right in saying, didn't Lazarus write your foreword for your book?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was really kind of him to do that. So,
and what motivated you to write your book, and what was the idea in publishing it?
So, have you ever been on to the Global Leadership Summit?
I haven't. No, I have heard about it though.
Yeah, so it's a really cool Christian event. Came out of Chicago originally, where they provide top quality Christian leadership training, normally held in local churches. So our church was hosting one of these, and what was his name? James Clear. He wrote really good book,
Atomic Habits. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was first speaker of the day, and it was fascinating what he said. I don't remember what he said though, but something he said suddenly started making me think. Like he was talking about, using your habits to be more productive and to achieve great things, and just suddenly something clicked, and I thought, no one's ever written a book about backyard ultras before. And I'm constantly telling people stories about, like, every race is fascinating. I'm following these awesome events online. There's so much there. There's a book waiting to be written, and no one's done it. And I've always had this. I've got a couple of book ideas that I'd love to do, and one in particular is writing a spirituality of running. I think that could be a fantastic book.
Yeah.
But I thought, for that to work, I would need to develop my writing skills more and get a bit of a reputation as a writer as well, so that there's a chance of it getting published and a chance of people actually buying it. And so I suddenly thought, there's a book waiting to be written. I think I could do it, and that could open up lots of other doors.
Yeah.
And so then I stopped listening to whatever it was James Clear was talking about, and just started scribbling down all his notes. By the time he finished that session, I had a chapter plan for a potential book.
Awesome.
And then for the rest of the day, I kept on just thinking about this. And then at the end of the second session, just before there's about to be a break, our pastor goes, "Okay, so I know that God's been doing some stuff in all your lives there. Some really heavy stuff's been said there. Can you just spend a few minutes praying about those spiritual insights that you've all been thinking about, and then share them at your table before we go off for morning tea?" And I felt really guilty because I hadn't listened to a word of that session. I'd just been thinking about my book. Well, I've got nothing else to do except to pray about the book. And then I'm not going to say anything at the table. I'll let the more spiritual people share their thoughts. And so I'm just praying, God, look, if this is of you, then keep pushing me. And then because because it's hard to know whether this is just a really dumb idea or whether it is a God prod or not. And then we finished up the praying time. Everyone else was meant to talk, and so I just stood back and went, "Cool, other people can share." No one said anything. I thought, "Oh well, here's what I was praying about. Here's this idea for a book," and everyone was just so encouraging and said, "Look, you've got." It's hard to know with these things. Why not just give it a crack?
Yeah.
And then write a chapter and then see what that does for you. Does it, make you feel that, yes, I've got this great piece about it, this works well, or is this just too hard work? And it's not something that seems to be working for you. I thought, yeah, okay, that could work. And then for the rest of the day, I kept on sort of adding more notes, listening a bit, planning a bit, listening a bit. And then the last session, I thought, okay, I need to actually listen to this guy. It was a guy, Ryan Leake, basketballer, got to the top of the American Christian Basketball League. I think it was the NCAA or something like that. Wanted to get in the NBA, but wasn't quite good enough. And then tried to start making documentaries and stuff. Wanted to make some documentaries about NBA teams. And his big thing was... have a go, don't be scared of failing. And he talked about how he sent a cold call email to every NBA team saying, hey, can I come and spend lots of time with you, hang out with you and write and do a documentary on you? Like really low probability, but give it a crack. By then though, in my planning, one of the things I'd realized was this Lazarus Lake you mentioned, that the founder of the event, the only way I could write this book was if I got his permission and if I found out, because I'd want to find out, is someone else writing this book? If a really good author is already writing the book, then why bother? Then they'll beat me to it. They'll do a better job than me. I don't need to do it. And if I can't get Lazarus's blessing, then there's no point either.
Yeah.
But okay, so I'd need to somehow track him down, stalk him a bit, and then say, is anyone else writing it? And what do you think about me doing it? So then I'm listening to this Ryan Leake talk at these cold call emails he's doing. The very final bit of his talk, which is the very final bit of the entire Global Leadership Summit, he said something along the lines of, you've got to be prepared to have a crack. What if I'd never sent that email? You have to be prepared to fail.
Yeah.
And I just heard that, and it sort of hit me like a ton of bricks and thought, yeah, okay, it's not that hard for me to reach out. I can stalk people pretty well. I can find him, reach out, and it can be a no, and it's all over. Yeah. I don't think about this anymore. So a couple of days later, found his email. He said, sure, bit of a long story, but eventually managed to talk to him, and he said, yeah, I think this would be great. Go for it. No one else is writing it. You do it. And so the entire thing, I really felt in those early phases that God sort of just prodding me along, not really it was never meant to be a Christian book. It's not a Christian book. But it felt like part of my faith, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I thought it could open up lots of doors for me, develop skills, and lead to lots of other things.
Awesome. And how has it been? It was published end of last year, is that correct?
Yeah. So
how has it been received in like the running community?
Yeah, really well. So so there's the running community, then there's the ultra running community, and then there's the backyard ultra community. So it's a really tiny niche, but it's been received really well.
Yeah.
One of the scarier things was sending a draft of it out to about 40 runners around the world.
Wow.
To say, hey, would you mind reading this? Let me know if there's any mistakes, and if you'd be kind enough to write something kind about the book that I can put in the front of it.
Yeah.
And that was really scary.
Right.
Because...
it's so vulnerable.
Oh, yeah. And one of the first replies I got back was someone saying, yeah, I don't really read much. I read a bit, but I couldn't get into it. I've got ADHD, so I'm not going to, And I thought, I know what I didn't read much. I'm not much of a reader means. It means it was awful.
Right.
Okay. Oh, well, that was a fun, 9 months of my life I spent writing that. But then the more positive replies came through. And eventually that person, eventually did read it all and said, oh, I loved it. This was fantastic. And I kept on getting overwhelmingly positive feedback. And so now I've got 4 pages at the start of the book with all these people saying how much they loved it.
So good.
And some people outside of running circles, Dean Karnezes, probably the biggest running author in the world, has written Ultra Marathon Man and probably about a dozen ultra running books. He was very, very kind in his words about it.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it was a bit overwhelming, actually.
That's awesome, Steve.
All this positive feedback.
Yeah. I've heard it said similar to what you mentioned about when you're sitting in that global leadership summit. A similar phrasing that I've heard is you fail 100% of things that you don't try.
For sure.
And it's that thing of like, well, what's the harm? We have such a fear of failure. I think that's something that we all can relate to and connect with. And that fear prevents us from trying something. But it's like, well, if you're so afraid of trying something so you don't do it, you're already failing at it because you'll never know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is it's a crazy thing. So just to be able to step out into a place where you're writing a book and then also being vulnerable with a community of people who know their stuff, who have experienced what you're talking about, and just throwing it out there and being like, hey guys, give me your thoughts. That's a super encouraging thing to do for people who are hearing your story. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I hope so.
So tell us a bit about the connection that you have between running and your faith. What is, if any, what is that connection, and what lessons have you learned through that?
So we've explored the perseverance thing a fair bit already. So that's a massive one. For me, it's also a time of a great time for prayer. So often I'll run with others, but I'll normally run a little bit most weeks by myself. And it's one of the best times for me to be praying. I feel closer to God running than any other time. And you got to say, running something I enjoy. And so I don't go out there trying to run as fast as possible. Every time I'm running, I am experiencing joy. And so connecting that with God is good as well. So I'm running along casually, talking to God. I'll often listen to Christian podcasts as well, broad variety of those. And then regularly, I'll just suddenly start getting distracted by something and ideas will come to mind, whether it's an issue at church or work or home, or a book project. Suddenly all these ideas will start coming. And so I'll hit pause on the podcast and then just I'll get all these ideas. And I find it's just really quite fertile. Your subconscious seems to work quite nicely when you allow it time and you're not just filling it with busyness.
Yeah.
I find it great for stress relief as well. And I guess it's probably spending that longer time in prayer that that is strongly connected to that too. I also saw I've also found it being great in terms of building community as well. So for many years, I saw running's been a massive part of my life, and then I prayed for years and years that it would start opening up relationship or any ministry doors for me there, because I've worked for Christian organisations since 1997, and so it's really easy to be in a Christian bubble where Christian family, church, workplace,
right,
and it can be a bit isolating and dangerous to have it almost exclusively at times non-Christians to hang out with. So I thought I've really got to start using running here. So doing a lot of these big events became really helpful, and you start seeing the same people and start building some friendships there. But then Park Run was born. And so we started running with a friend, and I would run about 7 kilometres to the nearest park run. We'd attend there. And then after a while, we thought, we really need one closer to home. And so then we actually began Underwood Park Run in Rochedale South, which is where we live. So it's a kilometre from my house. And so that's been going for 8 years now. Wow. And it's like a mini church. It's not Christian in the slightest.
Yeah.
But it's people turn up every week. There's the results online. It's like there's a roll there of the people who are there. And you start developing this awesome community for people who are trying to, and people who are there for social reasons and for physical health reasons.
Yeah.
And through that, it just opened up huge number of relationships. Some of my closest friends I've met through there.
Awesome.
And I've got, I have made more friends and got to know more people through that than anything else I've ever been involved with. And I'm not a great evangelist going up talking to people about Jesus all the time. But we've had quite a number of really quite healthy discussions over a long period about various faith matters as well. That's come out of that. Because really, if you're running along with someone, especially if we then do longer training runs together, you're running along with someone for a couple of hours, you talk about lots of different topics. You got lots of time to talk about different things. So
that's awesome. And I love that idea as well. I think park runs are, for anyone who is not sure, they're worldwide. So it's like you have this like micro community that you're running and you're a part of it, but then it's also, that everywhere in the world on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. there's millions of people that are participating in this. And I think it's something that's beautiful about it is it also creates a rhythm in your life, right? So it's like, that you can expect that on a Saturday morning that you're going to be with people that you enjoy being with, do something that you're motivated to do. And there's other people who are there that are like-minded. So it just creates this culture of care and this culture of, of community essentially. So I like what you're saying. It's almost like a mini church, but it's not obviously any Christian affiliation or anything like that. But from that, relationships are formed, which is so good. I love that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, just aware of time. What if someone is? What's that?
Oh, sorry. You had to store the time myself.
Oh yeah.
Good fun.
It has. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. If someone's wanting to grab a copy of your book or find out more about the work that you do, where would you direct them to, Steve?
Yeah, so I've got a website, runningforever.au. Runningforever.au, and there's links on there to get paper books and all sorts of options there, and there's audio books there. Or just go to Amazon and just Google. There is no finish, the Backyard Ultra story, and then that'll come up there.
Awesome.
Or runningforever.au. And I'm on on Instagram and Facebook as the Backyard Ultra story.
Cool.
I think it is there.
Awesome. Well, it's been such a privilege and pleasure, Stephen. I've got a lot of admiration for people who put their bodies through an immense amount of strain, pain, and suffering, and that are able to talk about it with a smile on their face throughout. So yeah, thanks for sharing with us your thoughts and your experiences. And yeah, look forward to seeing what comes from it as well.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Caleb. It's been a magnificent pleasure. Really appreciated the opportunity.
No worries.